Hi, I'm Quincas Moreira, and I'm a synth DIY guy. I've always loved alternative controllers for modular synths. I definitely lean west when it comes to coasts, and although I'm a trained keyboardist, I tend to prefer avoiding the black and whites, as they always pull me towards more conventional sounds. Joysticks in particular are a lot of fun. As the name implies, joystick. I've actually designed and built my own joystick, which I really love and use a lot, but it takes up a lot of space in my rack, so I was very happy to receive this Horstronic kit from Thonk. It's actually very similar to my design, with offset and scale controls and the ability to process external signals, as well as simply generating control voltages. There's no actual build document for this, so I checked out the Muff Wigglers thread where it's discussed. It's an easy build, but it was sure useful to have a few pictures to look at, especially of the joystick mounting position and wiring. I'll link to the thread in the video description below. As usual, I started with the diodes and resistors, but soon realized that in this case, it would have been better to start with the IC sockets. To save space, the resistor pads are made for surface mount resistors, or through-hole resistors standing up TP style. The kit comes with through-hole resistors, and the TPs get kind of tall, so you can't just lay the board down flat to solder them in the sockets at once. No biggie though, I just held the sockets with a finger while I soldered the corner terminals on each IC socket, thus keeping them in place, while I soldered the rest of the pins. The bypass capacitors for the ICs are surface mount components, or SMD. That's okay, I got some good practice and tools for this when I built the Ornament and Crime module. I tin one pad for each cap first, then hold the cap with my tweezers while I reflow the solder to one terminal. Then I just solder the other side, easy peasy. Next I soldered on the other through-hole components, the caps, trim pots and power header. Then placed the ICs and the regulators. The regulators come with the legs angled outward. I used my pliers to straighten out the kinks, then folded them back in with my fingers. This way they fit perfectly into the tight pads on the PCB. Be careful not to make solder bridges when soldering. These pads are indeed very close together, as are most of the pads on this board. The panel is very intelligently made. It's double-sided, giving you the option to have the joystick below or above the jacks and pots. I initially chose the side with the joystick on top. I mounted the panel components to the PCB without soldering them, then fastened them to the panel. Turned the assembly so the panel faced down, and pushed the LEDs so they'd go through the panel hose. Then folded their legs out before soldering them in place. Soldered the jacks and pots, wired up the joystick following the picture in the muffs thread, and I was done. I haven't even felt like I needed to calibrate the trim pots for now, since the scale and offset controls make it so flexible in the first place. Eventually though, I decided to flip the panel, as I was assembling a small setup with the controllers on the bottom horizontally. It was very easy to do this, and it's really great to have the option. As long as I was flipping the panel, I figured I'd go ahead and remove the springs as well. I left them on for a while, but soon realized I much preferred free-flowing rather than snapping back to center. It was easy enough, I just had to remove the back cover of the joystick and carefully remove the springs. Put them away in case you ever want to put them back on. I also lubricated the joystick ball to remove some of the friction. Just a couple of drops of sewing machine oil did the trick. Graphite-based lubricant will probably work really well too. That's it for the build. I hope you liked the video. If so, please like, subscribe, and support me on Patreon so I can keep on making these. If you're in my second tier at Patreon, your name will now show up on a roller at the end of the videos. Have fun! Next I'll be reviewing the companion module to this joystick, the Horstronic arcade button. So stay tuned, stay noisy, and see you next week. Enjoy the demo patch. Hey everybody, let me walk you through the joystick patch, joystick demo patch. Everybody's already seen joysticks used as voltage generators for modulation, destinations. So I decided to do something different. I decided to use it as what I'm calling a vector mixer. So I'm actually sending audio to both of the inputs, which are back here. I'm sending a low note from the braids in FM mode, which is getting modulated by the rampage to open up some harmonics. The rampage is being triggered by one of the drum triggers in the Arturia BeatStep Pro. And the braids is being sequenced by one of the CV sequencers in the BeatStep Pro, while the Music Think modular chord organ is also being sequenced by the Arturia BeatStep Pro, by the second sequencer in the Arturia BeatStep Pro. I'm not actually using any of the gates from the BeatStep Pro for these sequences because I'm going to control the amplitude with the joystick, the amplitude of both voices with the joystick. I have the joystick in unipolar mode. That way in this lower corner right here, you're getting no sound out of either voice. When I move the joystick up, I get that bass sound, the braid sound. And when I move it to the right, I get the chord organ sound. If I move it to the opposite corner, I get both of them. And this is actually a really fun way to implement vector synthesis into your patches. You can have different parts of the patch on different inputs and modulate between them, or just float around with different voices in a different way than the usual, which would be triggering them with envelopes. Also, when I put the joystick in bipolar mode, then it mutes in the middle position, and either side triggers the sound. So you can do this kind of effect too. With both voices. And also spinning it around is pretty cool, like a Leslie kind of a thing. Let's start in unipolar mode and see what happens.